welcome. I'm joined here this morning by Kimberly Biddings, the VP of Product at BioKey. Kim, thank you for being with us. How are you?
I'm good, Michael. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Kim. Let's start off at a high level here. Give me the company's two primary solutions and what problems they solve over at BioKey.
The first one I'd highlight is the award-winning PortalGuard IAM platform, or Identity and Access Management platform that we have. PortalGuard really is all about reducing cyber risk, eliminating passwords and improving productivity for people as they're trying to log in and removing that friction, consolidating IT solutions to really reduce cost overall. And then we help customers meet compliance requirements such as, let's say, HIPAA, CGIS, and then also meet cyber insurance requirements, which are becoming a very hot topic lately, driving the need for PortalGuard, which really offers multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, and self-service password management as its core elements, and our unique identity-bound biometrics, which I know we'll talk about in just a moment. The other main product I'd highlight is BioKey Mobile Auth. It's a one-of-a-kind MFA, or multi-factor authentication mobile app, and it allows you to really bring the power of our identity-bound biometrics to any mobile device. And so that means you can do things like scan your palm or your face to log in, and it also supports other authentication methods such as push tokens, as we call them, or also built-in device-native biometrics like Face ID or Touch ID.
That's amazing. Okay, and you've recently also rolled out some new features and some enhancement to these products as well. Can you talk about these features, why they're so important, and what differences they're going to make for BioKey?
Yeah, sure. So, mobile auth, I would highlight again. Right now, it's been doing just palm scanning, which still is very differentiated in the market to be able to do a centralized biometric from a mobile device with no extra hardware required. And then, as I mentioned, we added in facial recognition or face scanning to really offer that other method of biometrics. And we're also looking to add additional methods such as voice. That one mobile app supporting so many different methods gives people the options that they need and the flexibility that they need to pick how they want to log in, and then what's appropriate for their different user groups, the different people that log into systems and applications in the enterprise. The other thing I'd highlight is with PortalGuard, we've added in a little while ago now, but still key to mention, the support for single sign-on to what we call legacy or thick apps. So single sign-on, right, eliminates password prompts. So every time you go to log in, you're not getting another request for a password. And with these big, heavy applications that aren't standard in the sense of connecting them to single sign-on, it leaves people with passwords to manage. And so PortalGuard can really secure access to all those apps and eliminate passwords for all of those, even the really difficult ones to integrate.
Got it. And then tell us a little bit about identity-bound biometrics, or IBB as it's more commonly known. What does that mean? How is it different than ordinary biometric ID that people might be more familiar with, like on their phone for unlocking and things like that?
Yeah, I love this question, as you can tell. So identity-bound biometrics is, simply put, it creates a centralized, unique biometric identity that then you can use to identify or authenticate yourself from any device, anywhere, any location. So what does that mean, right? When I present, let's say, my fingerprint on a fingerprint scanner, what's actually being authenticated or matched centrally is my fingerprint, or is essentially a template of my fingerprint. And so what that means is that when you authenticate that way, we can actually say that the person is truly who they say they are when they're trying to complete a transaction or an authentication. Now, why is that different than device-based, right? So Touch ID, I get this question all the time. And what happens with those is those are locally matched on the device. So why does that matter, right? When you present, let's say, a thumbprint or a fingerprint on your Touch ID, it does match on the device, but what's actually sent back to the system or the application that you're trying to access is simply the device ID. So when we talk about multi-factor authentication or authentication, there are three categories, right? Something you know, such as a password, something you have, such as a phone, and then something you are, which is truly biometrics. The device-based biometrics are really still in that something you have category because they're not authenticating the person, they are truly only authenticating the device. So identity-bound biometrics is integrated into all of our solutions, and offers you that way to really bring people back into the trust equation that we're trying to achieve in the first place.
Got it. Now, can you talk a little bit about the primary competing products to BioKey and how are the BioKey products differentiated in their sector specifically?
Yeah, sure. So, I have to mention status quo. It's scary enough. A lot of people, even though things like multi-factor authentication prevents up to 90% of cyber attacks, a lot of organizations out there are still slow to adopt it or adopt it everywhere. And so that's been a challenge, I think, across the board. But if you look at categories of solutions that fall under identity and access management, right, what we do, you have, let's say, the mobile apps or the multi-factor authentication providers. And again, they really only offer that something you know and something you have categories of authentication. They cannot do the centralized biometric that proves the person is who they say they are. And then if you look at biometric providers, right, on the other side that do the centralized biometrics, they often are only offering one method, so just face scanning or just fingerprint. And then they're unable to provide any of the other categories of authentication. And we holistically believe that when you're doing a good, solid access policy, access management, you have to support and offer all three categories, because what would work for you may work very differently for somebody, let's say, in a healthcare situation or a sheriff working a patrol shift, right? We have to consider the people on the other side, and our competitors aren't great at solving and offering authentication for all the situations a company has.
Okay, got it. Now, what verticals are your strengths? What markets are growing fastest? And where do you see the biggest opportunity for your market and why?
Yeah, so our strengths, right now we really focus in on higher education. Over 200 institutions are using and trusting our Portal Guard platform. We focus on government, and specifically into county government. It's been a great strong suit for us. And then banking, financial services areas. So definitely more community, regional banks, credit unions, but even major financial institutions. And then what we're seeing, some of the largest growth or demand areas for specifically our technology are places where they have these unique situations. So shared workstations, we call them. So think about, let's say, a retail environment is a great example where people are working on a shared cash register or kiosk. Manufacturing is another one of those, that on the manufacturing production floor, you don't want people carrying phones and hardware tokens for safety and also just liability reasons. And then you have healthcare, as I mentioned, is another big one, and call centers. So contact centers have, let's say, pretty high turnover rates. They have shared workstations, and employees there are not allowed to bring in their phones specifically for security reasons. And again, you really want to be able to just have a simple, easy login for them, but that can identify the person completing that action. Largest growth area, right? If people are looking into identity and access management, every vertical, every enterprise, every organization needs to secure access because of just the amount of cyber attack and cyber risk that's now present out there. So it really spans the whole, world, I guess, if you want to go that broad. But those are the specific verticals that we focus on.
That's amazing. A lot of great information here and a lot of exciting things you guys are working on too. Kimberly Biddings, VP of Product at BioKey, thank you so much for taking us through everything you guys are doing this morning.
You're welcome. Appreciate it.